Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Michael J.
How you doing this week?
Fantastic. Just got back from PAX, the World Championships, everything. It was great. How about you?
The World Championship of Magic the Gathering. You know, in the vast majority of weeks, I would want to talk about that on the podcast, but not this week.
Yeah, Bant 1 and Emrakul decks are great. But beyond that, there's new stuff, though. One of the great things about the World Championships in PAX was the unveiling of oodles of Kaladesh stuff as Kaladesh spoiler season kicks into high gear.
Yeah, oodles and oodles of Kaladesh stuff. Certainly you're talking about oodles and oodles of new Kaladesh stuff. For example, saucy new Planeswalkers. For example, the new Chandra Pyrogenius. Chandra Pyrogenius is 4RR for a Planeswalker Chandra. +2, Chandra Pyrogenius deals 2 damage to each opponent. Well, that could be a lot of damage, for example, in a group game. -3, Chandra Pyrogenius deals 4 damage to target creature. And -10, well, that's quite a bit of a minus on her limit break. Chandra Pyrogenius deals 6 damage to target player and each creature he or she controls. So, there's a new Chandra, like the Chandra that's currently in Standard. This one is 6 mana. And I gotta say, Patrick, considering that Kaladesh is kind of a Chandra-centric plane, you know, Kaladesh is the plane that the Chandra of the Gatewatch is from, I would have thought they would have had a more powerful Chandra card. I'm a little lukewarm on Chandra Pyrogenius. Now, I know pretty much all Planeswalkers are awesome, but this one it's less awesome than the Chandra we already had at 6.
So I think Chandra Pyrogenius and Nissa Nature's Artisan are both they were selected for these dual decks, these theme decks that they're not part of the regular set. They are standard legal, but they wanted to be able to put the Planeswalker. They wanted Planeswalkers that they could actually put in the dual decks that wouldn't just be super disruptive and overpowering. And the Chandra and the Nissa from this set are too strong for the theme decks. There's too warping. And so they made this Chandra and this Nissa as good starting introductory this good starting introductory sort of couple of cards. And they've got uses, they've got purposes, but like I think this Nissa is more likely to see play than the Chandra. The Chandra is just much worse than the other Chandra 6 in Standard.
Yeah, I mean,
Flamecaller.
Nissa Nature's Artisan is 4 GG for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker Nissa. Her +3 is a big plus ability. Gain 3 life. I don't know how often I would want to pay 6 mana to gain 3 life. She has a -4, which would put her to 1 loyalty from the base. Reveal the top 2 cards of your library. Put all land cards from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest into your hand. I mean, that's a pretty good card drawing ability, I guess, but she did cost 6.
That's better than a draw 2. I mean, I guess it's close. You do reveal the info, but you get the lands in play. But it is kind of draw 2 cards.
Is it better or worse than an Explosive Vegetation? I don't know. I guess sometimes it's better. Sometimes it's the same. But you are paying 6, right? And then -12, that's quite a princely sum, or princessly sum, in the case of Nissa Nature's Artisan. Creatures you control get +5/+5 and gain trample until end of turn. That's kind of an atrocious ultimate, in my opinion, especially for a 6 mana Planeswalker and that much loyalty reduction. I think she's not very strong.
Yeah, I mean, it's more that she's not what Standard is really about. Neither of these, they are much more designed for gameplay that's a little closer to limited. You know, like, I mean, they're both fine. You know, like Chandra Pyrogenius, +2 to deal 2 damage to each opponent, and -3 deal 4. If the world was very different, imagine playing these cards. It's just we have so much better of options. so much better. And it's not just Chandra being replaced by just a much better Chandra 6. It's that there's lots of cards that cost 6, 7, that are they're stronger. And importantly, this has stronger Chandra, much stronger Nissa. And it's interesting, Seder has Chandra, very, very strong Chandra. And Seder has very, very strong Nissa.
It's hard, right? It's so strong. With a point to that, especially on this. Despite the ability in essence.
Yeah, so I think that they're just a baseline. They're actually the leaders. So it's about Flores. What do you think of Nissa first? One on that target when you control until your turn. You can fill on the creature with creature haste. Medicine, return from a card to your hands. And this you with her playing the field under you control, you may draw a card.
This is very talk about, and we'd like to start with this, but also not Chandra, not forecast Chandra, for reasons that we'll get to in just a moment when we get to that card. This has a lot of stuff going on. First of all, she has 5 loyalty to start and +1, right? So her limit break is -6. So you can go like to 5, +1 goes to 6. And then on your next turn, she has 6 loyalty. Immediately do the -6. You get the emblem, and then you're just off to the races, right? If you play an Evolving Wilds, it's game on, right? Like that's, I think that's gonna be a very common play pattern with her.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a shockingly quality ultimate for being 1 turn away.
It's amazing. I think like it depends. It depends if you're going to play the kind of games that develop over the course of multiple turns, right? If you're playing against decks whose end games are either on the order of Part the Water Veil or on the order of Emrakul, Nissa Vital Force might not be where it's at, right? However, if you're going to play against decks whose end games are on the order of Ob Nixilis, Jace Unraveler of Secrets, or Goblin Dark Dwellers, or Archangel Avacyn, if that's the end game that the opponent's playing, there's very interesting stuff going on here. But I think that if you're playing against these decks that are just like womp womp, here's a 13 or here's a 10 and here's like 3 turns of consecutive 10s, you're unlikely to get very much value out of Nissa Vital Force with that play pattern.
Here's the thing though, this Nissa. Actually, I think this Nissa helps against those people for a different reason. It's not just about her ultimate. Her ultimate's great as far as ultimates go. It's quite great just as a tactical weapon, like almost like Gideon Emblem, where you really do just gain this permanent advantage that now you just play the game this way. But that's not the way you're always going to want it to play her. The +1 means that she's a 5/5 haste creature, but she's actually shockingly hard to kill. Because, like, when you put her down, she attacks immediately. She makes the land come alive and attack immediately like a 5/5 haste. But even if they were to block it or removal spell with, like, a murder or block with a death touch creature, the next turn, you just make a different land. I mean, this is like Koth of the Hammer. Right? Like, she can... she attacks, like, where Koth was like a 4/4 haste for 4 that was like very hard to kill. She's like a 5/5 haste for 5 that's very hard to kill. But whereas Koth only would go up to 4 loyalty, she ticks all the way up to 6. And what's more, where you can like use her as sort of a backwards way to like ramp, because she does range from 5 into 7. Which is cute, right? Like, that's at least something, because we're talking about where there's, like, Emrakul and Eldrazi. But in addition to her ability to do some amount of ramping, or potentially even color fixing, because Koth could only untap mountains. Nissa Vital Force could untap any land. If you wanted, she could untap some sort of a legendary land or something that had some sweet activated ability. But...
I mean, she could activate a Drown Yard, right? So that even if the land got killed, it would just be easy to get back, right? And that would be cool. Or she could activate a land when you have a Sylvan Advocate in play, right? So then it's even bigger.
Yeah.
But I think, like...
there is one more part of this I wanted to catch on before touching on some of the other synergies, which is the 5/5 Elemental doesn't have to attack. It's until your next turn, which is a radically different play pattern than Koth. Nissa Vital Force can wake up one of your lands and then just use it as a blocker.
Yeah.
That's just night and day.
I think this card is bananas, personally. Right? It's so much better than the other 5 casting cost Nissa, in my opinion, which was a pretty good card. Right? In Standard. So, if you just look at this as an offensive card, for 5 mana, like you said, you get a 5/5 haste. Which is...
It dodges sweepers, too. Like, Planar Outburst won't kill it.
Which is very on the order of Reality Smasher. It's not Reality Smasher, right? But it's got some different upsides. Like having a Sylvan Advocate in play, for example, is an upside that this can enjoy. Like you said, it dodges sweepers. But it's pretty similar if you're just like, what's the TLDR on this top line, on this play pattern? 5 mana, 5/5 haste, go. People are doing that right now, and they're very happy to play a 5/5 haste for 5 that has some amount of resiliency, which is what this card says. Separately, if you want to look at this as a Planeswalker that's just like, I'm going to use this as an engine card to get straight to the 6 loyalty and then, go to that emblem, she has built-in defense. She's 5 mana, 5/5 creature to block, helps defend her for all of the 1 turn necessary to get to that emblem. And then she's still got other things going on.
Absolutely. -3 to return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. That is a heck of another option for a card that already, like, I don't think that option is so fundamentally powerful as the other two. However, what's so great about it is that it's so different than either of them, and it gives her such added versatility. The fact that you can put her down and draw a card so that if you know your opponent's going to be able to, like if your opponent just has Ruinous Paths, the fact that you can put down Nissa, draw a card. I mean, you can put down Nissa and immediately return the other Nissa that's in your graveyard. Because if you put down Nissa Vital Force, make a 5/5, bash your opponent, and then your opponent Ruinous Paths your Nissa Vital Force, you can drop a second Nissa Vital Force and get back the first one. Now what are they going to do?
I mean, probably get bashed for 5 next turn.
It's not for nothing that as Den Protector rotates out, Nissa Vital Force has swooped in to campaign for a little bit of the 2-for-1 grinding, Eternal Witness sort of space.
And about the same mana too, right? So for 3 colorless mana and 1 in a G, so G and 4, you're getting that return ability. You're getting that for GG3 here, but she's leaving a different kind of permanent than a 3/2 creature with a little bit of evasion. I think that it's interesting because what people are using Den Protectors for right now, Nissa Vital Force can't really loop, but she's going to have other
spells?
things. Yeah, well, they're looping either Time Walks that they discarded earlier on that weren't removed from game, or Crushes right now for the most part, or some ramp spells. But I think that with Explosive Vegetation is going to rotate, right? So if the artifact, the 4-mana artifact that draws 2 cards, what's the name of it? Hedron Archive.
Hedron Archive.
If that becomes, the new Explosive Vegetation, and it is already old Explosive Vegetation in some decks, right? Then that will be a card that can ramp you at the 4 and then be used to draw cards, and Nissa can get it back. That's interesting. That's a permanent. She's gonna. I actually think it might be interesting for Nissa to be getting back cards like Evolving Wilds. Like, let's say you have a Nissa emblem already, and then you get your Nissa emblem. You no longer have a Nissa in play because when you emblemed, your Nissa died. You play another Nissa, and then immediately get an Evolving Wilds from your graveyard with the second Nissa's -3 ability. Play it and draw 2 cards. That's I think that's a thing that will happen in every tournament where this card is played. That pattern will actually occur in a huge number of tournaments.
another big thing she does is get back Emrakul, the Promised End.
Yeah.
If you're playing with a bunch of cards like Grapple with the Past and any amount of self-mill, whether it's Liliana, the Last Hope, whatever you're doing, if you're able to mill yourself some, Nissa coming down as a like if you drop Nissa and then get back Emrakul, then next turn when you untap, she's either going to produce a mana for you by untapping one of your lands, or she could even potentially add a Planeswalker to the graveyard to make the Emrakul one cheaper. So it's like one way or the other, you're going to get a mana out of it.
Those are both awesome, actually, right?
Right. And it's not just that it's selection, it's that now your opponent has to deal with Nissa, or else you're just going to keep doing awesome stuff, but also you got back Emrakul or anything else. It could be anything else, you know? So I think this is going to be, you know, because I think sometimes you're just going to do things like get back the spider, the Graph Widow. You know, because if you're playing some sort of a black-green Delirium deck or black-green-red or black-green anything, having Nissa Vital Force is it's an exciting option for helping round out such a strategy. Particularly since Nissa Vital Force has the capability of being very beat down and aggressive when you're on like some 4/4 Grim Flare or 3/3 Gnarlwood or whatever it is you're doing. If you're on some like beat down time, she can beat down. But if you're on some grind out the 2-for-1s and like play a sort of rock storage deck, she can do that too.
In fact, she could be a 4-of contributor in both of those deck styles because much like Gideon, she kills herself in a really economical fashion.
Yes.
I actually think that we should just revisit one of those points that did already get mentioned by you, but it's so interesting. Just that +1 ability, the first ability, untap target land you control until your next turn. It becomes a 5/5 elemental creature with haste. It's still land. You can beat down with it, right? So you can go 5 mana Nissa Vital Force, untap a land, smash for 5. B, you can untap the land and leave it, right? So that it can defend Nissa Vital Force. C, let's say you can untap a red land, just for sake of argument. You have this, and you untap a red land, and then you just tap it to cast a Fiery Impulse, right? So you're leveling up your Nissa, and at the same time, you're just, getting a mana usage out of it. But D, on the next turn, you can just play your 6th land, untap, and you go straight to 7. That's like World Breaker mana already. I think there's like so many posh 7s. Is what's the name of the angel? It's GG5 for a 4/4, and then like when you play lands and you like play planes, it returns stuff. That angel that nobody's played yet.
GG.
I'm sorry, WW5 for a 4/4 flying. You play lands, awesome stuff happens. If you play planes, really awesome stuff happens.
Right, you either get back creatures or you get them directly into play.
So, that card's not going to rotate, right? That's a Zendikar card. I think like you can go straight into cards like that, or straight into cards like World Breaker, like really strong 7s. Is something that you can do directly off of the 5 from Nissa Vital Force.
Yeah, because like red-green ramp has a little bit of a need for some new juice, right? Like you've got, you still have lots and lots of good stuff, but you are like with the with Dragon Lord of Tarkagon, there's a little bit of a need for a little extra power, and it's kind of interesting that Nissa Vital Force as like 5 power of haste combined with Chandra as like 6 power of haste. Like it's kind of interesting. And then also, if your deck already has 7s, if you've already got stuff like World Breaker that you want to be doing, the fact that she ramps you directly into 7 is appealing. And that's to say nothing of the fact that when she untaps target land, she could untap your Eldrazi land. Your Shrine of the Forsaken Gods.
So that's like getting you even more mana.
Right.
So what's rotating? Dragons of Tarkir is rotating, right?
And Magic Origins.
Oh, so we're going to lose the creature Planeswalkers. And
right.
So
Chase Friends Prodigy. Good.
And also the spell mastery cards too. We're going to lose.
Yeah, and Collected Company and the Dragon. So the Collected Company, the Dragon Lords, the commands that go along with the Dragon Lords, the a variety of red aggro cards like Abbot of Carol Keep and Zurgo and so on, Lightning Elemental, or Lightning Berserker, I mean. And then there's some of the white weenies, like a bunch of the like stuff like Kithion and Anafenza, Kintry Spirit, Night of the White Orchid, lots of stuff like that. And then there's also some of the permission. There's no Clash of Wills. No Jace Vryn's Prodigy is a big one. Nissa Vastwood Seer. The enemy Painlands, like Yavimaya Coast, Caves of Koilos, stuff like that. And I think that it's very uneven which colors got hit and where, but I definitely think that there's a lot of potential homes for this Nissa Vital Force, whether it's red-green Ramp, black-green Delirium, red-green Aggro, green-white Planeswalkers, green. I could actually imagine this in a variety of Emrakul decks. I think this is a great card that's going to find a number of potential homes.
I think this card is absolutely outstanding. I agree. I think that it's probably awesome in an aggro Delirium strategy, awesome in a control/Emrakul Delirium strategy. It's awesome playing Beatdown and red-green Ramp, but it's also awesome playing Control in red-green Ramp, right? Like, you talked about Nissa Vital Force being a 5 haste, along with Chandra being a 6 haste in red-green Ramp, but this card is probably pretty awesome, playing card advantage while Chandra plays Sweeper at the same time. Like both of those lines would be very, very valuable.
Right, and the two of them together, 2 hits. They can just kill in 2 hits.
Oh yeah, like I think
plus a red-green Ramp deck. Oh, go ahead.
I just think it's awesome. I was just gonna.
A red-green Ramp deck is particularly good at getting extra land drops. So when you actually trigger Nissa's ultimate, you get extra paid. Like if you put down, first of all, if you can cast Nissa Vital Force a turn early, like if you use Map the Waste, I guess there's not Map the Waste anymore specifically, but if you use the 1 in a green when you have wastes in play, you get to put the land directly into play. Ruin in their Wake, right. If you have Ruin in their Wake or any of the mana creatures there's a variety of different options for 2 and 3 that you could potentially have that let you put Nissa down a turn early, and when you tick her up, whether you use the 5/5 to block with or you just smash somebody and Necrotal their Planeswalker, whatever it is you're doing, when you play Nissa and you tick her up, if you can actually ultimate her on the following turn, you are in high gear. It's not just that your deck will probably have 4 Evolving Wilds in it. It's also Explosive Vegetation, Ruin in their Wake. Each of these cards becoming a cantrip is so powerful, to say nothing of the extra card just every turn.
Explosive Vegetation is going to rotate, I think. However...
Right. Oh, yeah, but there's going to be many different analogs.
Well, I was thinking, if you go straight to 6, right, you go Nissa Vital Force on 5, untap Smash You for 5, 6 Loyalty, Emblem, 6th land, Nissa's Renewal. That's a right card at 6.
Perfect.
Right, that's perfect.
Great
Draw 100 cards, right? You basically draw 6 cards and gain 7 life. That's seems like...
And your 3 of your cards were Moxes.
Oh, actually, I apologize. You drew 7 cards and gained 7 life. Right, you get a card for card number for land 6, 3 cards that you search for, and then 3 cards off the cards you search for. That is
right.
But I love it too much.
And you've got enough mana for Ulamog next turn.
Yes, I think that we have established in the first 15 or so minutes of this podcast that Nissa Vital Force is going to be one of the top 5 cards of the new standard.
Of the new standard, not even the set.
The new set for sure. I think the new standard. Do you challenge or no?
Wow. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think it's possible.
No Coco.
It's just that's. Yeah, I know. That's just. Dude, we're talking about a standard that has Liliana the Last Hope, Emrakul, Elder Deep Fiend. I mean, there's some insane cards. That's not even counting Thought Not Seer, Reality Smasher. There's all this stuff. I don't know.
I ever had a Thought Not Seer and Reality Smasher in my imagination already. She's already Reality Smasher. She's like 80% a Reality Smasher and has other stuff going on. All right. Can you give me top 10 cards in the new standard?
I'd have to think about it more, but I think there's a decent chance she's top 5 or top 10. But to me, it's not as clear cut because I think that a 5-cost card, there are some unbelievable options at 5, and it's like she's a green 5-cost card. She's literally competing with Ishkana Graph Widow among many other great options. I think she's going to be great, but it's
all right. So
I don't even think she's the best Planeswalker in this set.
Agreed. I think she's only the second best Planeswalker in the set. But I think that she's going to crack the top 10. Maybe five might have been aggressive. I was thinking about the other 5-cost cards. I think that I like her more than Ishkana, and I don't think I like her more than Archangel Avacyn. That's where my current gut is. I just don't know how many. Like it's weird to me that like Spell Queller, Reflector Mage, or
Emrakul.
All right, she's got to be top 10, Patrick. She's too awesome.
I don't know. Okay, maybe I think it's possible she'll be top 10, but I'm not as convinced that she'll be top 10. She might be. We'll see. I think she's great. Either way, we're arguing over very, very minor details. She's just a good card. She's gonna be
a staple or a flagship, right? Like even if she's
not. Oh yeah. I think she is both a staple and a flagship.
I agree. Do you think she's cross format, or do you think she's a standard card?
I mean, we'll see. She'll cross over a little. I don't know. I don't know why, and I think it could be wrong, but I'm less confident that I really know how good she is, because I think she's great, but I think she also might be destined to lose.
Really?
She might be. Well, I think that she might be preyed on, not enough to not be good, but I think that it might be one of those deals where they made her good, and then they made a bunch of other cards that line up good against her.
So here's the thing. We're going to be in a situation for the first time in a long time in Standard where it's Planeswalkers versus Titans, right? Like, the last time we were in this situation was about a year ago. It was Planeswalkers versus Dragons. Dragons had the upper hand for a good period of time, and then Dragons somehow just went away, and nobody noticed. But it's been a long time since it was Planeswalkers versus Titans. And it's really going to be Planeswalkers versus Titans in a few weeks. I do think that she might not be on the right end depending on which Planeswalkers versus Titans matchup she's in, but she is herself an insane Planeswalker assassin. That's the thing. Like, she's
got that Tezzeret Agent of Bolus action going on.
She's just a walking boom boom. I mean, like, I that's what I love about her. Like, I look at cards like Goblin Dark Dwellers and Reality Smasher. Those guys are good in Standard and cross format. I think she has a lot of what both of those cards have. She's already got those, right? She is a Reality Smasher on her +1. She is a bit of a Goblin Dark Dweller on her -3. And she's more than a Goblin Dark Dweller if you keep her around for a single turn. That's the thing that I see about this card, and I'm very excited to play her.
Oh, yeah, me too. Definitely. So I guess, to be fair, she is very perfectly engineered to beat up on Chandra, Torch of Defiance.
Well, can we save her for the third? Let's talk about the third best Planeswalker first, and then go to the first best Planeswalker.
Sure.
All right. And by third best Planeswalker, I speak, of course, of Saheeli Rai, the Izzet Planeswalker from Kaladesh, who is 1 blue-red for Planeswalker Saheeli, 3 loyalty. She has the following 3 abilities. +1, Scry 1. Saheeli Rai deals 1 damage to each opponent. -2, create a token that's a copy of target artifact or creature you control, except it's an artifact, in addition to its other types. That token gains haste. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step. And -7, search your library for up to 3 artifact cards with different names, put them onto the battlefield, and shuffle your library. I think Saheeli Rai is pretty cool, and she has the pedigree that we so often see being really powerful for Planeswalkers, in particular cross-format Planeswalkers, in that she costs 3 mana.
Yeah, I mean, costing 3 mana has historically been pretty good. What's your assessment on this specific implementation, though?
I like her opening ability. +1 scry 1. It's pretty good. You're only paying 3, right? So you're getting her up to 4 loyalty, and you're getting scry, and she does a little damage. Obviously, she has like the fatal flaw of Planeswalkers that sometimes invalidates them, not all the time, right? But sometimes makes it so that they're less impactful, which is that she's not very good at protecting herself, but she can deal damage to opponents. She can create tokens, but the tokens go away. So unlike Nissa is, makes a 5/5 to defend herself for a turn. Saheeli Rai does not do that. But her -7 is very strong, in my opinion. It does take you 4 turns to get there.
So I think, while her -7 is like game over in certain formats, and is likely just game over if you are willing to just put some expensive, mediocre artifacts in your deck or something. I don't.
Or good
to
artifacts.
me,
I mean, there might be awesome ones that we could put in.
Maybe we'll see what gets made, but I just think that a planeswalker that doesn't protect itself at all, that needs to live for 5 turns, that's not the ultimate could be win the game, and it's not that big a percentage of the card. To me, the looking at the top 2 abilities, first, scry 1 and deal 1 damage to the opponent. It's like these are things you like, but she's not actually very good at them. The fact that she can't protect herself, scry 1 and deal 1 to your opponent each turn, that wouldn't be the most insane enchantment, and she is attacked and killed quite easily. So to me, when I look at the card, the real strength of the card comes in the -2. Now, the -2 is very hard to use, but I actually think that this is the part of her that is the most exploitable. When you have her -2, the thing she does best is come down and copy a creature that has some sort of a comes into play ability or some sort of a multiplier, so that you're getting extra value. When you drop her, copy something, you can very easily end up drawing a card or 2, and now you just have her in play, and then you can start scrying and pinging. If I don't think that she looks particularly. I think she looks like this sort of card that people will wrongly just stick in decks, but she's, I think, very live to potentially be part of some very cool new archetype. But I'm not immediately just like lining up to want to just do her, like, to just play this outright. I think it's going to come down to the copying some super dope stuff. Alternatively, it is of interest that she works well with Oath of Chandra and Oath of Jace. I mean, that's something. Just that she's cheap, a cheap planeswalker that has a different name, instead of just endlessly stacking up the same names.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the scry 1, deal 1 damage to each opponent, I think that you put it well, that these are things that you want to do, and these are things that you want to do, in this case, while gaining loyalty. But for the same mana at 1 UR, it's kind of the same ability as Fever Visions, but half as good. So, instead of drawing a card, you're only scrying, and instead of dealing 2, you're only dealing 1. Yeah. So I think that she has an interesting level of competition with a highly established card already at her casting cost. I think that's a thing to consider if you want to play Saheeli Rai.
Yep. I mean, she works well with stuff like, there's one of the vehicles that draws a card when it enters the battlefield. and there's just the possibility of all these different triggers, different artifacts with enters the battlefield triggers or things that get benefited from you playing artifacts. So she's got some cool stuff, but I think we need to see more of the set to see if it's her time yet.
I think she's the kind of thing that probably, she's obviously not nearly as universally powerful and impactful as the Nissa that we just talked about, or certainly the Chandra we're about to talk about. But I bet she's a great sideboard card for some matchups. Where
is she? Fevered Visions.
Well, I'm just thinking, look at how Blohan defeated Owen in the finals of the most recent Pro Tour. He basically just played a Planeswalker on turn 3 and ultimated it in 2 out of 3 games. Right? There are matchups where the opponent is incapable of putting a lot of pressure on a third turn Planeswalker. And for the purpose of what Blohan did versus Owen, Saheeli Rai is actually better than Liliana was, right? Because he's just gaining no value by using his Liliana, versus Saheeli Rai would actually be helping you forward the plan of either protecting Saheeli or advancing your mana base while doing a little bit of annoyance to the opponent. And your whole goal is just to get the whatever you need, a counter spell, disruption spell, removal spell, keep hitting your land, whatever it is that you need. She's actually doing that for you. And that if the opponent, their beatdown creatures are 1/1 for 1 that are really easily destroyed, or 1/1 for 3, then, prior to more powerful catalyst cards, and she's just helping you find your, whatever strategic counter spells you have, I think she's amazing for that purpose. And that's literally how the last Pro Tour was decided.
That's fair. We shall see.
I do think that there's another Planeswalker that we've hinted at it a lot that's probably pretty exciting to talk about in this episode.
Yeah.
I had two... So, the card we're talking about, obviously, is Chandra, Torch of Defiance. I had 2 reactions when I first saw this card. I wonder what your reactions were, though, when you first saw it.
You don't want to share your reactions?
I want to hear. I really want to hear what you thought when you first saw the card, and then I'll tell you what I thought.
Yeah, I can't put it. Mine, it would be a much more long-winded. It's not 2 things. I mean, instantly, tons of things come to mind with this card. Tons and tons and tons of things.
The first thing I thought was, is this card real? Because the art with that, the initial version I saw, it looked a little washed out. I was looking at somebody's phone. Was playing in an invitational qualifier, and they're like, "Oh my god, Mike, look at this." I'm like, "Is this real?" And then the second thing I thought was Mind Sculptor, but I don't know if that's heretical to you.
Yeah, no. So the Jace the Mind Sculptor comparison, I think, is by design. This is the Chandra set. They wanted to really sell it. They made the costs the same. They gave her 4 abilities. And she does tons of awesome stuff. She's so a red Planeswalker designed for somebody who likes Jace the Mind Sculptor,
Yeah, that's actually reminds me of something somebody once said. A Cobb salad is a salad for people who like cheeseburgers, right? That's what I think of when based on what you just said. This card is so powerful and flexible. It has an ability for every piece of mana in the upper right-hand corner, and all 4 abilities are awesome.
Well, and she secretly has more abilities, because it's not like that first ability is really 1 ability.
Oh, yeah, it's 2 at least.
So she's 2 red for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker that you can immediately just tick up to 5. If you want to exile the top card of your library, you may play that card. If you don't, Chandra, Torch of Defiance deals 2 damage to each opponent. So, you still have to pay the costs, and it has to be this turn, because you have to immediately do it right now, actually. But it's the best of both worlds. It's like Chandra Pyromaster from before was like an awesome 4-cost Chandra. And that Chandra, her ability to zero and draw cards, some percentage of the time you would miss, right? Like you flip and it's a card you can't cast yet. And with this Chandra, however, you always have the option. It's the same thing, but instead of like missing, it's that every card also is alternatively you can just dome your opponent for 2. So she can reliably go after Planeswalkers. She can finish an opponent off if you want to put them on a clock. But she also is drawing cards. She's actually doing both, and her loyalty is going up. That other Chandra, she was zeroing to draw extra cards. This Chandra is plus 1ing to draw extra cards. This is just insane. And instead of having to choose between putting your opponent on a clock or drawing extra cards, she lets you see what the extra card would be.
So the extra card always has the option of being like 2 gut shots, right? Like it's 0 mana, but it deals 2 points of damage.
But you can shock. Yeah, she can convert everything into a shock to the opponent's face for no mana, and she's gaining loyalty. It's not like it's just trivial to be able to kill Chandra. And then unlike the other Chandra, you can put this Chandra down, use her ability even when you have no mana, and still be getting 2 damage to your opponent. So you're always making progress.
So there is something I think that needs to be pointed out. It's exile the top card of your library. You may cast that card. Does that mean if it's a land, you can't play it?
Right.
So that is a limitation. I mean, it's this. Don't get me wrong. Ability spectacular, card spectacular, but you can't play lands for free.
That is correct. She is on the opposite side of the spectrum as Nissa, but it might also be partly not wanting it to be too good with Nissa. With Nissa's ultimate.
These cards will be played together quite often.
Some. The second ability, though, I think that part of it is they just wanted to help give this Chandra a little bit more of a lean towards aggressive strategies, and they wanted to pull back slightly on the amount that they were helping ramping strategies. Her second ability is +1 to add red. And lo and behold, here she's ramping.
While gaining loyalty.
Yeah, and this is a big one because it's not just that you can put her down and immediately get 2 red mana and then use, cast some sort of a removal spell like an Incendiary Flow. It's that, or just drop a creature. Because that used to be a play sometime with Koth of the Hammer. I'm sure you recall the number of times you drop Koth, untap a mountain, and then instead of attacking, you use the red mana to cast a blocker or a removal spell.
Sure.
Here, she does that much better. I mean, she gets 2 red mana. And what's more, when you untap with her, you go straight into 7 already. Like, that's you're multiple turns ahead. She produces mana as effectively as Hedron Archive.
I mean, we say it out loud. That's insane. Hedron Archive is already a staple of Standard.
And this is colored mana. And this is mana with haste that's colored mana. And this is also a personal Howling Mine with upside. And this is also just her first 2 abilities.
Oh, these are both the loyalty gaining abilities, right?
Right.
That's the comical part about this.
And it's not like starting with 4 loyalty and going up to 5. That's not like a low amount. And then we get to her -3. Chandra, Torch of Defiance, deals 4 damage to target creature. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think that is among the strongest can a Planeswalker itself answers of all time. 4 damage? That's like you pay mana for that right now.
And it's only to creatures, but it's also, she's just now in play. Like, she lives.
Yeah.
So, you have a personal Howling Mine. It reminds me of Jace the Mind Sculptor, where you would put Jace down and then bounce their creature.
Yeah, and it's is Collective Defiance. This is Exquisite Firecraft. This isn't
Yeah, but it's not to the face.
I understand
what I mean,
but
but
it's
hold
still
on.
a creature.
Wait, right, I know, but so It's Mind Sculptor. That would be a good thing. When you put down Chandra and get rid of their creature, if they had a board with just one threat and you were able to kill it with Chandra, you now just have a personal Howling Mine. If you just match what your opponent is doing, Chandra will single-handedly win the game. And even if they can get rid of her, they're usually down cards because you killed something on the way in. It's like she's a Necrotal, but instead of a 2/1 first strike, you have a personal Howling Mine. You have a Jason play. This is like such a strong ability. She's going to step on so hard creatures that are like that cost basically just mid-range creatures. If a creature doesn't have haste and just comes down and does awesome stuff, she's going to step on it hard. And then in addition, her ultimate is not even that far off, and her pluses are so good, and her ultimate is game-winning in a hurry with almost no ability to fight back.
Yeah, so whenever you cast a spell, this emblem, you gain an emblem, right? Deals 5 damage to target creature or player. That's actually important. You can kill creatures with it. That's one thing. But what's so exciting about this is, like, it's just a triggered ability off the emblem, right? I could just cast a Rampant Growth or something, deal 5 to you. You only have to do that maximum 4 times so it takes down somebody from 20 life. And they're probably not at 20 life, right, given Chandra's +1 ability.
Yeah, I mean, this is... Every part of this card has got stuff going on that... she can be used in aggro, like mono red aggro. She can be used in red green ramp. She can be used in 3-color Planeswalker Super Friends decks. She works great with Oath of Chandra. All the oaths. She works great alongside a bunch of the other Planeswalkers. There's just lots and lots to like about this card. The thing, some of the stuff I think that's interesting though is that she's so good. She's going to help define the format, like what kinds of creatures you can play, what kinds of cards you can play, and how you're supposed to interact back. For instance, when Chandra Torch of Defiance is good, things that do 5 damage with haste are good. Right? Like, if your opponent drops a Chandra Torch of Defiance, you'd love to on your turn, drop a Reality Smasher or a Nissa. Right? Like, if you drop Nissa Vital Force, you can actually just kill Chandra outright. And Chandra doesn't really have a great counterplay for that. Because she's really good at killing a creature that's like mid-size or smaller. She's great against an empty board against an opponent who's just trying to play with like card advantage. And she can bully other Planeswalkers pretty well if she comes later if the other Planeswalker isn't very good at attacking her. But she's actually really poor at defending herself against haste creatures. She's really, really, really vulnerable to haste creatures.
I think that perhaps in part for that reason, Chandra and Nissa will be super best friends, though. Like, I could totally see somebody casting Ruin in their Wake on turn 2 and then just slapping down Chandra on turn 3 and then playing... I mean, they could theoretically play turn 4 Nissa and have a 5/5 to defend both Nissa and Chandra and be an emblem zone 1 turn later. Like, it seems awesome curving to me.
Yeah, and you don't even necessarily need the extra land. Because, like, Chandra...
No, Chandra can cast Nissa.
Right? And it's not even clear that Ruin in their Wake is the way you end up doing it. It might end up being one of those spots where you play with creatures. Because if you use a 2-mana mana creature and then Chandra on 3, when you Nissa on 4, you can still also have the 2-drop creature untapped to block with.
Yep.
How much do you think we're going to see Chandra Torch of Defiance in the same deck as a Chandra Flamecaller?
I don't think that much. I think Chandra Flamecaller was already on the decline, and I think that the format's going to be too different for this. Like, I think that if Emrakul decks are going to... You know how Emrakul decks just play some random Planeswalker sometimes? Like, Owen played, like, 1 Chandra, or Ruben played one.
Yeah, they just want an extra planeswalker to make Emrakul cheaper sometimes.
There are better choices now, right? That's the thing. Because I think both Nissa and Chandra, depending on what colors you're in, are synergistically appropriate to that kind of a strategy. But I think I don't know. I don't see Chandra Flamecaller being a high priority main deck card. I think maybe it'll still be a good sideboard card against certain kinds of decks, but I think that Chandra, such a Torch of Defiance and Nissa Vital Force are going to redefine, how a lot of these decks are played. So I think that Chandra Flamecaller is probably still an overall more powerful card than Nissa Vital Force, but you'd expect that for a card that costs an additional mana. But that Nissa Vital Force does a lot of what Chandra Flamecaller does, and does it a turn faster. And so you might see that kind of a shift, from 6 to 5 into green. But I don't know. I don't see those two Chandras being very commonly played together in main deck anyway. I could totally see it after sideboarding.
Go ahead.
I just think that Chandra Flamecaller is going to be a more popular sideboard card than main deck card.
I just think that it's possible some of these new planeswalkers give enough added weight and enough cheaper planeswalkers in places that I could imagine there being more use of things like Oath of Chandra and Oath of Liliana. And when you have
Liliana.
When you have
so much defense.
Yes. Well, I think that when your deck has Oath of Chandra and Oath of Liliana, the bar changes a little bit. I could imagine, for instance, a deck that has Liliana, the Last Hope, Chandra, Torch of Defiance, Ob Nixilis, Reignited, and then Chandra Flamecaller. And maybe you use 4 Chandra Torch of Defiance, 2 Chandra Flamecaller. Sure. But I just think that when your deck has 3 or 4 Oath of Chandras and 2 or 3 Oath of Lilianas, you start becoming, you start having a lot more incentive to play more planeswalkers. And if your Chandra Torch of Defiance lives, you're happy anyway. And it's not nothing. I know it sounds funny, but it's not nothing that Chandra adding red means that you can cast Chandra Flamecaller on the cheap. Because sometimes all you need in this world is a sweeper.
Yeah.
And Chandra Torch of Defiance can't do that, but she could help you play your Chandra Flamecaller for 2 mana less.
I think that the redundancy on the Oath of Liliana and Oath of Chandra, allowing you to have so much creature defense that are still so synergistic with a heavy planeswalker strategy it's an incredibly compelling set of cards. And I think maybe because of that, black-red mid-range might be a huge deck. That's just super compelling to me.
Me too.
And in
I
fact,
think so too.
Maybe you just sideboard into Harmless Offering then because Demonic Pact is rotating. Right?
No, Demonic Pact is gone.
All right, so you will not sideboard into Harmless Offering unless you want to give somebody maybe a Chandra Torch of Defiance with 1 loyalty or something. But I don't think you would want to do that.
So I think that Chandra Torch of Defiance is going to make life a lot worse for cards like Kalidas, Trader of Get.
Well, yeah, Chandra assassinates Kalidas.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't matter who's first, right? So Kalidas is first, you just play Chandra, kill Kalidas, right? Chandra is first, they play Kalidas again, go. Chandra, you can't do that, right? Chandra will assassinate Kalidas.
I do think that it's interesting the dance that Chandra Torch of Defiance and Spellqueller do. Because if they if you just play something on turn 3 and they Spellqueller it, you can drop Chandra on turn 4 and then just assassinate the Spellqueller and get yourself out of it.
Yeah.
But if you do it the other way, if your opponent has the discipline, they Spellqueller your Chandra, and then it's actually just really bad times.
I mean, you could just kill. I mean, I think largely a deck that has Chandra could probably kill a 2/3 creature without too much trouble, right?
Some of the time,
Chandra can kill a 2/3 creature.
Yeah, but I don't know if I can. I don't know if you'd want to count on that because they're going to have stuff like Essence Flux and Rattle Chains and Selfless Spirit. I just think it is going to make for some interesting gameplay. There's going to be a lot of really good games trying to interact between the battle, the chess match between Chandra Torch of Defiance and Spellqueller. which is yet another argument for Nissa. It's kind of interesting that Nissa can dodge Spell Queller.
Isn't it weird how 5s are so specially good in Standard because of Spell Queller?
It's interesting. And then also Nissa gets back Spell Queller, which is kind of cool.
No, I hadn't thought about that, but that is a true story.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, the implications of that. Chandra Torch of Defiance in a black-red mid-range deck like you described, like it could be that, I mean, maybe that's a Goblin Dark Dweller deck. The only thing is I always hate relying on Goblin Dark Dweller too much when we really want to be playing Oath of Chandra and Oath of Liliana instead of, removal that Goblin Dark could get back.
Because you got the wrong types, right?
Right, exactly. And then with Read the Bones gone too, it's just I also generally think that a Goblin's Body is less good when it's going to be doing things like Chandra to kill it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Goblin Dark Dweller is still probably going to be a live card, but...
Oh, yeah. It's not top line. Yeah, but people. I'm sure there will be some stuff though. People will find something. There's going to be some black or red mid-range creature worth using, like some brand new 2/4/1 cards, or some sort of ramping creature that's worth ramping into that for 6 or 7 mana. We'll see.
I didn't want to get into too many other cards that weren't the Planeswalkers just thematically this week, but I did want to point out. Isn't there a new Read the Bones that is less Read the Bones-ish, but pretty thematically interesting for this set?
It is, but that's a whole other can of worms. 3 mana, draw 2, lose 2, and get 2 energy. I mean, there's so much you'd have to discuss on energy to really get the full context. But this isn't the only draw 2, lose 2. This isn't the only draw 2, lose 2, because there's also the instant draw 2, lose 2 from the last set.
But then on the note of Chandra, in Magic Origins, there was a card, Pia and Kiran Nalar. Now we have just Pia Nalar. Apparently Kiran provided no power or toughness. That's like Dad had no power or toughness, but apparently he did all the spell-like effects for the couple, right? He had no size, but...
Yeah, and honestly, his ability to, first of all, obviously he brought one of the Thopters to the party. Second of all, he knew much better what to do with the Copters.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
But I do think that it's nice that now that Pia has gotten out on her own, that she's had a little bit of an opportunity to really just explore some of her passions. I think her pumping is it's great, the things she can do with Thopters. I think that her sacrifice ability less compelling. So I think she should just
neither one of these abilities is particularly efficient, right?
Oh, I like the top one. I think the fire breathing is going to be tactically great. I think this is an excellent card because we were already playing a 1/3 that when it entered the battlefield you got a Thopter and then it just gave your Thopters haste. Mm-hmm. Pia Noir, you're getting 3 power. You're getting this is like a horde
3. Yeah,
this is a horde outburst. No, it's a Hordling Outburst.
Okay.
Right, instead of 3 1/1s, you're getting a 2/2 and then a 1/1 flyer. So you already, I think, are more aggressive of a rate than Hordling Outburst. But what's more,
also only a single red. That's a non-zero.
Yeah. Here. Oh yeah. And the fact that she can pump all your artifact creatures, whether it's this one Thopter or anything else. That is this is such a great way to be able to, I mean, it's not like you're using the mana hyper efficiently by any means, but it's nice to be able to convert your extra mana into some damage in different places. I think the options here are going to end up proving, you're paying so little for this ability. I think this option is going to prove so valuable in some games. And then the sacrifice an artifact target creature can't block this turn. That is not the greatest. That ability, I think, lags substantially behind the other one, but it's still useful tactically. It's going to lead to situations in which you can just break through that you would otherwise not be able to. So I think this is a quality card. Big fan.
Well, I think that we should break for this week because we did talk about 3 really, really powerful, interesting Planeswalkers, and even with a little joking around about poor Dad. I also think that Pia is going to be a good card. And I wanted to tell everybody that we do normally publish on Thursdays, and this one's coming out on Thursday. But next Monday, Top Level Podcast is going to bring you a new exclusive preview from Kaladesh, and it is a fatty boom boom.
Absolutely. Very excited for that one. I think that Chandra Torture Defiance is definitely going to be a very, very strong and defining card. I knew Jace the Mind Sculptor. This is no Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Have you been saving that one up for like the last 7 years or so? All right, so we will see all of you on Monday with our exclusive preview, and it really is awesome. But if you want to get a hold of us between now and then, or I guess anytime, we are Top Level Podcast. We're toplevelpodcast.com. We're Top Level Podcast on YouTube. We're Top Level Podcast on Twitter. You should follow us on Twitter. You should join our Facebook page. We're also Top Level Podcast. And we are Top Level Podcast on Patreon. So if you like what you listen to, feel free. We would be very happy if you supported us on Patreon.
Yeah, and shout-outs, right? I mean,
so this week
we are big appreciative.
This week we are shouting out to Blue Thunder Samogi. Blue Thunder,
thank you, Blue Thunder Samogi,
for supporting Top Level Podcast. We really appreciate it, and we love this, and we're going to bring you Top Level Podcasts every week, and we're going to bring you a bonus one on Monday, where you will learn about pretty cool new creature.
I'm excited.
Same.
See you then.
Bye.
Life didn't work so great. Tried to play dredge just for jail or hate. Ghostly prison waiting for my untapped phase. Your core trapped in amber stasis state. Lost a lot of friends, got left behind. Had to find a way not to lose my mind. Trapped in a vault